I want to get in one quick new section or segment here about attorney's fees and how much attorney's fees are in probate. And I think, Todd, we start with the proposition. I think most people have always heard that, probate's horrible and it's evil and, all these misconceptions out there. And so I think that, maybe the public is misconstruing what probate actually costs. But I'll also say there probably is a flip side of this. I hate to, bash our own profession, but I think there are some attorneys that take advantage of legal fees in the system. And I think a lot of that goes to the question, you got to hire the right lawyer, right? And anybody's interested in that, I've got a very good article on, what questions I would ask if I was hiring a lawyer. But on probate fees, Todd, tell me the difference between the cost of probate. We're sitting here in Arizona today. We also practice in multiple states. Let's take California for an example. But tell me just quickly the difference between probate fees in Arizona versus probate fees in California, and why is state specific have anything to do with legal fees?
Well, by talking about those two particular states, you bring up an interesting differentiation, and that's that in Arizona, our only restriction is that our fee has to be reasonable. So generally in probate, it's going to be an attorney's going to charge their hourly rate for the work they do, and if it's a more complicated case, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. If it's a simple case, it'll be less expensive. Whereas in California, they have what we call statutory fees. In other words, there's a fee lined out in the statute in California that specifies that if the value of the estate is X, then the fee is going to be a percentage of that value.
No matter what the complications are.
No matter what the complications are. And in my experience, it's generally on the high end of when you're talking about, when you do that math.
Well, I think it goes both directions, Todd, and I'll tell you why I'm not a big proponent of statutory fees like California and Wyoming and some of these states. I think the states like Arizona, where we charge, the fee has to be reasonable, I think it works both ways. I've seen cases in California that Jet Probate's worked on that have horrible complications like we've talked about on other videos, and the statutory fee isn't nearly enough.
It's too low.
So the complication, and so the problem there is lawyers that see the complication in advance and know the statutory fee, that it's going to be hard to find a lawyer to take that case. So I think the problem with the statutory fee is the complicated cases, nobody wants it because they're not going to make any money on it. But I do think you're right. The other end of it is on simpler, easier probates, that statutory fee tends to be too high. So, I mean, our home offices are here in Arizona, and our professional opinion is these reasonable fee states are much better. Do you have anything else? I guess the last thing we'll just say about the attorney's fees. Can it come out of the back end, like once the executor gets appointed to collect the assets, or do they have to put money up front?
Yeah, it could be either way, depending on your agreement with the attorney. But generally speaking, with that statutory fee in California, it comes out the back end.
Yeah.
So after the case is ready, all the assets have been marshaled and liquidated, and we're ready to close the probate, then it can come out of the end. But a lot of the cases we do here in Arizona, we'll take a retainer up front, and we'll just bill against that retainer. But either way, it's money that's coming out of the estate, not out of the executor's pocket.
Yeah.